Hello. So, hi, I'm Cepe of EC21 from the LaSalle University, Tasmaninas, taking up the course Electronics and Communication Engineering. So, this is my experiment 5 of the subject computer programming, and it's all about Boolean values and conditional execution. So, let's start. Part 1, Input Function. So the objectives of this is becoming familiar with the input function, becoming familiar with the comparison operators in Python. So scenario, using one of the comparison operators in Python, write a simple two-line program that takes parameter n as input, which is an integer, and prints false if n is less than 100, and true if n is greater than or equal to 100. Don't create any if blocks. We're going to talk about them very soon. Test your code using the data we've provided for you. So this is the test data. So I have to do the two-line code which fulfills this condition. So this is my code. So input num. So short for input number. So instead of using n, I used a different kind of variable to represent the input or the n. I mean, this should be n, but I use my own way. So I mean, it's just the same, different name variable. So I just want to be unique. So run the code. Sample input 55 false. Run it again. Sample input 99 false. Sample input 100 true. Sample input 101 true. Sample input -5 false. And sample input +123 true. So my observation is the Boolean or condition is the reason why Python gives out a result of true or false, or the programming answers whether the inputted number is greater than or equal to 100. In simple words, Python rely on the condition, so which is this, and Python answers true, or false. Answers by true or false, rather. So part 2, comparison operator and conditional execution. The objectives of this is becoming familiar with the input function, becoming familiar with the comparison operators in Python, and becoming familiar with the concept of conditional execution. So scenario, Spathiphyllum, more commonly known as a peace lily or white-tailed plant, is one of the most popular indoor houseplants that filters out harmful toxins from the air. Some of the toxins that it neutralizes include benzene, formaldehyde, and ammonia. So a little trivia. So imagine that your computer, so this is the scenario. Imagine that your computer program loves these plants. Whenever it receives an input in the form of the word Spathiphyllum, it involuntarily shouts to the console the following string: Spathiphyllum is the best plant ever. So write a program that utilizes the concept of conditional execution, takes a string as input, and prints the sentence yes, Spathiphyllum is the best plant ever to the screen if the inputted string is Spathiphyllum uppercase. So also prints no, I want a big Spathiphyllum or Spathiphyllum if the inputted string is Spatifilum lowercase. Print the plant, not input, otherwise no input is a string taken as input. So test data here to prove the code is right. So code, this is my code. I forgot to say that I already did this beforehand to make the video a bit shorter. So instead of me writing down the code on point or while doing the vlog, it will take up a lot of time and make it kind of boring and waiting and make you skip more time. So back to the code. There's the code. So expected output Spatifilum not Spatifilum. Sorry, thought I was inputted the right spelling, so Python corrected me the spelling actually. So again, let me copy this. Thought I was wrong. No, I want a big Spatifilum. And again, let's copy this. One Spatifilum that pelargonium. And last, yes, Spatifilum is the best plant ever. Right. So my observation is the if, elif, and else condition makes the code passable where the elif or else if is for the additional conditions given. Wrong grammar. I know, right? Elif is also else if, so it is used for the additional conditions. If you were given more than one condition, more than two, right? More than two conditions. Because if you only have two conditions, you only have to use if and else, if else. So with elif, it's like another if, right? So next, part 3, if else instruction. Objective of this, familiarize the student with using the if else instruction to branch the control path, building a complete program that solves simple real life problems. So scenario, my task is to write a tax calculator. It should accept one following floating point value, the income. Next, it should print the calculated tax rounded to full tailors. There's a function named round which will do the rounding for you. You'll find it in the skeleton code in the editor. So this is sample inputs. So this is the code that I made. So let me copy this. And run. Enter the annual income. So 1244 tailors and sample input. Next. Oops, sorry. Tax is $00. Last. tax is 0.0 thalers. So the code is right. So in here I used two if and else statements after the income variable and after the tax equals round tax 0. So this is the conditions or the equations to come up with the value of the tax, right? Here tax equals income times 0.18 minus 556.02. So else here, this is where the values are made. So if tax is less than 0, print tax is 0.0 dollars. This how the thalers this is the thalers equations. So observation: Python can execute more than one if and else condition in one program. See, I used two if and else statement or condition in one program. Since Python is a line by line execution, right? So executes on precision and accurately with conditions or equations, right? So I have used Python as a tax calculator. So part 4, if elif else statement. Familiarize the student with using the if elif else statement, finding the proper implementation of verbally defined rules, testing code using sample input and output. So scenario. So as you surely know, due to some astronomical reasons, years may be leap or common. The former are 366 days long, while the latter are 365 days long. Since the introduction of the Gregorian calendar in 1582, the following rule is used to determine the kind of year. So if the year number isn't divisible by 4, it's a common year. Otherwise, if the year number isn't divisible by 100, it's a leap year. Otherwise, if the year number isn't divisible by 400, it's a common year. Otherwise, it's a leap year. Or in simple terms, if the year is divisible by 4, it's a leap year. And if it's not, it's a common year. You can disregard these two bullets for you to be not confused, or to make it simple rather. So this is my test datas. Example input 2000, 1999, 1996, and 1580. And except not within the Gregorian calendar period. So this is the code that I have made. Oops, sorry. Year equals input enter a year. In this case, in my first I use an if else statement inside an if else statement for me to satisfy the conditions, right? First if is when year is greater than or equal to 1582, then inside of it, then if it is divisible by 4, then print leap year. So and else print common year. So another else is where print not within the Gregorian calendar period when the year is less than 1582. So doing this made the code really easy and more precise, right? So let's test the code. Enter a year, 2000. leap year, divisible by 4. And again, 2015. Common year, not divisible by 4. Oops, sorry. 1999. Common year, not divisible by 4. 1996. Leap year, divisible by 4. And lastly, 1580. The year is less than 1582, so not within the Gregorian calendar period. So my observation is you can use an if-else statement inside an if-else statement to satisfy all conditions. When I was doing this earlier, I was kind of bit confused. So instead of me using else if, I think it was much better for me to use an if else statement inside an if else statement. It actually kind of runs the same as else if else if, and else. So I mean, I find this more simple for me, right? So next part, which is the last part, part 5, while loop. Objectives: familiarize the student with using the while loop, reflecting real life situations in a computer code. So my task is to help the magician complete the code in the editor in such a way so that the code will ask the user to enter an integer number. While we'll use a while loop. We'll check whether the number entered by the user is the same as the number picked by the magician. If the number chosen by the user is different than the magician's secret number, the user should see the message, "Haha, you're stuck in my loop," and be prompted to enter a number again. If the number entered by the user matches the number picked by the magician, the number should be printed to the screen, and the magician should say the following words: "Well done, Muggle, you are free now." The magician is counting on you. Don't disappoint him. I won't disappoint you, Mr. Magician. So this is the editor window help for our guide for me to do. So let me copy my code. So oops, I use a variable secret number to represent the magic number that the magicians use. So print this string for it to be presentable as a game. So while true, the while true makes the loop. It represents as the loop where text equals int input number. So what if the number that was inputted by the user is not equals the secret number, which is this, then it should print, "Ha ha ha, you're stuck in my loop." And we'll go back to saying this number, right? So else while true, if it's true that the text is not, since the exclamation means is not, when the text is not equals to a secret number, you print that string and go back to the text equals int input number semicolon, right? It will ask the user to enter the number again. So The if statement always checks if it's true that it is not the same as the secret number. When it is the same, then else. Print, well done, Muggle, you're free now. Then the break code will break the loop and finish the code. And finish the game rather. So let's try this code. So welcome to my game, Muggle. Enter an integer number and guess what number is picked for you. So what is the secret number? So let's try other numbers, right? 44. Haha, you're stuck in my loop. Number. This makes a never-ending loop. Well, the number is not equal to the secret number. So when you inputted the right number, well done, Muggle, you're free now. So txt is my variable which the user what the user inputs. So this is my observation. The while true conditional statement makes the loop where it questions the if statement over and over again whether it's wrong, then when if it's right, it goes to the else statement and break the loop. So that's all. This is the end of my experiment 5. Thank you for listening. So bye.